The realm of the gods is a forgotten dimension of the world we know, and the exploration of that dimension, either willingly or unwillingly, is the whole sense of the deed of the hero. The values and distinctions that in normal life seem important disappear with the terrifying assimilation of the self into what formerly was only otherness. Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I will be discussing a really interesting idea from an equally interesting author. So the idea that I will discuss is Joseph Campbell's idea of the monomyth, and related to that also his idea of the hero's journey. So Joseph Campbell, he's one of my most favorite authors and thinkers of all time. I believe that the main reason for this is that Joseph Campbell, he explored some extraordinarily unique and complicated ideas, such as his idea of the monomyth. But he always manages to translate it into, well, language of everyday life. And at the same time I find that his ideas, they kind of transcend our current age, and they manage to connect the distant past to the present and also to the future, making us realize how deeply connected we are to our ancestors but also to each other. And one of Joseph Campbell's most interesting and inspirational ideas is this idea of the monomyth. And in this video I will explore this idea of the monomyth further. I will define the concept and I will discuss the purpose of the existence of the monomyth. I will first briefly discuss Joseph Campbell's vision on mythology, which is necessary to explain the concept of the monomyth properly. So, Joseph Campbell is perhaps most famous for his extensive research on mythology. It's extremely interesting to see the world of mythology through the lens of Joseph Campbell, and when one does look through this lens, one will also easily understand the concept of the monomyth. As also discussed in the previous video, Joseph Campbell has stressed the importance of myths, most notably as a bridge between the conscious as well as the unconscious world, but also as a stimulus for some of the most important activities of human beings throughout the ages. His book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is this one, Joseph Campbell, he stressed the importance of myth, and he indicated that myths are in many ways universal. He wrote, "Throughout the inhabited world, in all times and under every circumstance, myths of man have flourished, and they have been the living inspiration of whatever else may have appeared out of the activities of the human body and mind." Moreover, Joseph Campbell believed that myths, they serve as a foundation for our connection to the energies of the universe, which may sound a bit fake, but hopefully at the end of this video it will make more sense. He wrote, "It would not be too much to say that myth is the secret opening through which the inexhaustible energies of the cosmos pour into the human cultural manifestation." Furthermore, according to Joseph Campbell, myths, they are not constructed, instead they are unconscious creations of the spirit. He wrote, "They are spontaneous productions of the psyche, and each bears within it undamaged the germ power of its source." At the same time, Joseph Campbell, he believed that myths, whether they are old Eskimo tales or stories from West African tribes or fairy tales, they always follow a similar storyline. He wrote, "It will always be the one shape-shifting yet marvelously constant story that we find, together with a challengingly persistent suggestion of more remaining to be experienced than will ever be known or told." Even though our culture is lacking a certain cohesive mythology, according to Joseph Campbell, these constant stories, they will still make themselves known to us. He wrote, "In the absence of an effective general mythology, each of us has his private, unrecognized, rudimentary, yet secretly potent pantheon of a dream." These ideas combined, they resulted in the idea of the monomyth, which consists of these three ideas, which are: 1. Myths exist everywhere and throughout all ages. 2. Myths connect us to our unconscious and are spontaneous constructions of the unconscious. 3. Myths universally follow a similar storyline. The monomyth can therefore be defined as the overarching universal pattern which is present throughout all mythology. And the similar storyline, i.e. the monomyth, which these myths follow, is that of the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell wrote, "The standard part of the path of the mythological adventure of the hero is a magnification of the formula represented in the rites of passage. separation, initiation, return, which might be named the nuclear unit of the monomyth. Essentially, throughout every myth, the hero follows the same pattern of departure, initiation, and return. Joseph Campbell wrote, "A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow men." The journey of the hero is unique because it is in a sense not a personal journey but a universal one. It is interesting to note how Joseph Campbell explained the differences between myths and dreams. Joseph Campbell indicated that dreams are a sort of personal myth, while myths are a universal dream. He wrote, "Dream is the personalized myth, myth the depersonalized dream. Both myth and dream are symbolic in the same general way of the dynamics of the psyche. But in the dream, the forms are quirked by the peculiar troubles of the dreamer, whereas in myth, the problems and solutions shown are directly valid for all mankind." And in this sense, it is the task of the hero, according to Joseph Campbell, to transcend this distinction between personal symbols as presented in dreams and universal symbols as presented in mythology, because both they originate from the same source. Joseph Campbell wrote, "The hero, therefore, is the man or woman who has been able to battle past his personal and local historical limitations to the generally valid, normally human forms. And once the hero has been able to battle past these limitations, he or she will be able to transcend his or her own mortality in a certain way." Joseph Campbell wrote, "Such a one's vision, ideas, and inspirations come pristine from the primary springs of human life and thought. Hence they are eloquent, not of the present disintegrating society and psyche, but of the unquenched sources through which this society is born. The hero has died as a modern man, but as the eternal man, perfected, unspecific, universal man, he has been reborn." As indicated, this adventure of the hero always follows a similar storyline, a similar pattern of departure, initiation, and return. And Joseph Campbell explored this pattern throughout his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. So the hero dies, he leaves his current world, is reborn, and he must then share his insights with the world. And Joseph Campbell, he further subdivided each stage into several other stages, which you can see in a table later on. I will not discuss these stages in further detail, however. In case you're interested, I can highly recommend you to read through them in Joseph Campbell's book. For now, it's interesting to note that if you consider every myth, fairy tale, or religious story carefully, you might recognize, if not all, at least many of the patterns originating from the overarching monomyth. So in this table you can see I've used the example of the Lord of the Rings character Frodo, who is at first hesitant to submit to the call to adventure. Eventually, with the aid of other supernatural characters, Frodo crosses the first threshold to the other world. Frodo leaves the safe, comfortable world of the Shire and goes on an adventure to Mordor. And throughout this adventure, he has to face many challenges and overcome many temptations. Eventually, Frodo he returns to the Shire, and indeed he becomes a master of two worlds. And yeah, this I haven't seen the Lord of the Rings movies in a long time, so I do hope it kind of makes sense. But if you've seen the movies, then I think you'll also understand this idea of Joseph Campbell of the hero's journey through the character of Frodo. Another example is the stories of the heroes present within the Star Wars movies, who also follow a similar pathway, which is actually not a coincidence, because Star Wars director George Lucas, he also openly shared that he was really inspired by Joseph Campbell's work. So the adventures of the Lord of the Rings character Frodo is an example of Joseph Campbell's monomyth and also the hero's journey. At the same time, besides these more modern examples, Joseph Campbell also presented an impressive amount of other older examples throughout his book. He wrote, "Prometheus ascended to the heavens, stole fire from the gods and descended. Jason sailed through the clashing rocks into a sea of marvels, circumvented the dragon that guarded the golden fleece, and returned with the fleece and the power to wrest his rightful throne from a usurper." And all these examples, whether age-old stories of the struggle of Buddha or the fictitious character of Frodo, they all follow the similar storyline of departure, initiation, and return. Joseph Campbell, he believed that every individual should heed to the call to adventure set by his or her own life. Every individual should venture to follow the pathway of the monomyth and become a hero, or follow this path of the hero, his or herself. According to Joseph Campbell, we can use the adventures of those that went before us as an inspiration. He wrote, "We have not even to risk the adventure alone, for the heroes of all time have gone before us. The labyrinth is thoroughly known. We have only to follow the thread of the hero path." Joseph Campbell, he was optimistic in believing that if more and more people would actually go on a similar hero's journey, as the pattern set out by the monomyth, this would result in more harmony in the world. He wrote, "Where we had fought to find an abomination, we shall find a god. Where we had fought to slay another, we shall slay ourselves. Where we had fought to travel outward, we shall come to the center of our own existence. Where we have fought to be alone, we shall be with all the world." This is actually also the purpose of the monomyth. It can serve as an inspiration for our own adventure. It connects both worlds, the conscious world of the day and the unconscious world of the psyche, and serves as a bridge between these two worlds. By connecting both worlds, Joseph Campbell believed that the human spirit could reach a degree of maturity which it would otherwise lack. He wrote, "It has always been the prime function of mythology and rite to supply the symbols that carry the human spirit forward, in counteraction to those constant human fantasies that tend to tie it back." Joseph Campbell even considered the possibility that our modern age, which does not pay attention to the idea of the monomyth and mythology in general, has a high occurrence of mental and spiritual problems precisely because of this lack of myth. He wrote, "In fact, it may well be that the very high incidence of neuroticism among ourselves follows from the decline among us of such effective spiritual aid. We remain fixated to the unexercised images of our infancy, and hence disinclined to the necessary passages of our adulthood." Joseph Campbell believed that mythology lay at the heart of almost every thought present within humanity, whether it be in a personal dream or an important worldwide religion. He wrote, "Religions, philosophies, arts, the social forms of primitive and historic man, prime discoveries in science and technology, the very dreams that blister sleep, boil up from the basic magic ring of myth." Moreover, according to Joseph Campbell, within this world of mythology, a common pattern can be observed. Joseph Campbell used the term the monomyth to define this pattern. This common pattern, which these myths are subject to, is the journey of the hero, which consists of three main stages: departure, initiation, and return. The hero ventures into the world of the unknown. He or she is met with challenges and eventually returns to the conscious world, whereupon he or she will realize the connection between both worlds, as well as a deep intrinsic connection between his or her own self and all which he or she did previously not consider a part of his or herself. Joseph Campbell, he wrote, "The realm of the gods is a forgotten dimension of the world we know, and the exploration of that dimension, either willingly or unwillingly, is the whole sense of the deed of the hero. The values and distinctions that in normal life seem important disappear with the terrifying assimilation of the self into what formerly was only otherness." So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope it made sense. If you have any questions, then please let me know. And if you're interested in these topics, then also please consider subscribing to this channel. I publish a new video, well, at least every week if I can. So thank you very much, and hope to see you in the next video as well.